Ethan was scrolling Craigslist in early 2019, late 2018.
Some people might be listing things under like coffee maker or coffee machine. So I'm looking at that. And then I just see like a Keys Van der Westen Spirit triplet, which is like it's that right there. And it was like listed for $12,000. And those are usually like high 20s, low 30s. I was like, we got to get this thing. I was like, hey, I'll bring $9,000 cash today to pick it up. And they're like, sure.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Valor Coffee Podcast. Today, we go into part 3 of our story, part 3 of 3. Wanted to share what it was like to open our first cafe, our roastery, our second cafe, and what's to come. So stay tuned for that if you're into it. I have 3 things to share with you guys. First of all, Hayride. It's our fall blend. It's back, better than ever. Definitely give it a try. valor.coffee/shop/hayride-fall-blend. That's a lot, but just go to our website. You'll see it. It's right on the front page. Very good. It has all the fall vibes to it. 50% Sumatra, 50% Nicaragua. We're into it. It's really good. Next, we are partnered with Clive. They are an excellent resource for all your equipment for your cart or in some cases your cafe. So go to Clive and use code VALOR5 at checkout and you'll get 5% off Luca espresso machines and Eureka grinders. Excellent equipment to use at your cafe. We've got a Eureka grinder right behind me and it's amazing. That's the other thing. Lastly, if you are not yet a part of our community, the Valor Coffee community, make sure to sign up for your free account below. It's the top link in the bio. We have so much going on there. Chat channels, threads, people discussing what's going on in their company, getting help from others. So it's a great resource to, first of all, be a part of a community. That's why we call it the Valor Coffee community. We didn't have that when we started out, and we just really wanted to create something like that to help others along their coffee journey, whether it's cart, cafe, just brewing, anything. We have that, and then there are some tiers that get you really awesome resources that we've worked really hard on. PDFs, spreadsheets, courses, the works. So sign up below. The base account is free, and you can basically just get in and chat with others in the coffee industry. Without further ado, here's the pod. Love y'all.
Cheers to you and yours.
To you and yours.
To yours and yours. By the time people are watching this, we will have gone to 2 NFL football games.
Ooh.
Isn't that kind of cool?
You mean in a small span of time? Like we've been to more than 2 NFL football games.
Starting from this current moment, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I get it now.
Dude,
It's true.
Yeah.
You want to share which ones we're going to?
Well, we got a little birthday boy in the house. Ross is kind of like a birthday month guy.
Yep, he is.
For sure.
He's like October.
It's me month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So though his birthday be later in October, he needs to celebrate like now.
Yep.
So that's why we got to go to the Bucks Falcons game. Thursday night. I've never been to a Thursday night game. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I think I've been to one a long time ago.
We went to one together.
There you go.
Oh.
Falcons, Saints, Color Rush jerseys, Deion Jones.
pick in the end zone. Yeah.
Was that the one where he jumped up and swagged it? Maybe I was there.
Were you? I think it was me.
Oh,
I think it was me, Michaela, Rachel, and Ross.
and me.
Dude, those seats were so good. We had it so good.
I know. The pick was right in front of us.
And you were like,
We were like that. That is very true.
Deion.
You are going to 3 NFL games in 8 days.
Yeah, I went to the Saints-Falcons game. Speaking of birthdays, gift from my lady.
Awesome, man.
Sorry.
Jeez.
Me and my friend Matthew, we're 7-0, man. We are 7-0.
You've never watched the Falcons lose live.
Never lost.
Dude, I bet I've seen more losses than wins.
Never lost.
I bet I have.
Except the preseason game. But Matthew
You
was
can't
not
count
there,
that.
and that does not count.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, Matthew's not going to be there.
I'm saying I asked him to think about buying a ticket,
Just in
pull
case.
up, you know.
Yeah.
So
And then next week, we will be in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah.
giving a little
Chiefs.
Saints.
Monday night.
That's right.
Circle Coffee, Topeka.
Not a suburb of Kansas City.
No, it's its own thing.
It's its own thing.
Yep.
Don't even say it's a suburb. It's actually the capital of Kansas, so it's due some respect.
Put some respect on
Put some-
Topeka
yeah. Come on.
/ owners retreat. That's a cool thing we do. We do an owners retreat once a year,
Always have.
more or less. Let's list a few of the places we've been to: Chattanooga,
Twice.
Asheville,
Charleston.
We have not been to Asheville.
I just threw it in there because I just figured we had
Oh, yeah.
Charleston, Nashville. Really, just all we've made our rounds in the
Portland, Maine.
Oh,
That,
yeah.
Yep.
That was the curveball. So yeah, Kansas City this year.
I think Kansas City is now the curveball.
Sure.
Because it's not East Coast.
Yeah, but it's gonna be awesome. I've never been to Missouri. Missouri.
Or we're in the Missouri side?
I mean, yeah.
Hey, I'm sure we'll go to both. So
we're gonna be. I've never been to Kansas either.
Yeah, we got
Tick tick.
Dude, we'll just start driving, hit other states.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of do that the whole time. Just road trip.
Dude, I remember that the earlier owners retreats were like a huge part of it was like just trying to get our name out there and like bringing coffee to coffee shops and like not making a connection beforehand, but just being like, hey,
Yeah.
we have a coffee company in Georgia. We're going to give you guys some samples and love what you're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has that evolved?
Well, last episode we talked about being forever traumatized with cold calling or cold reach out, and that was definitely part of that.
That was cold
Because like
on multiple levels.
we were talking about last episode was with booking events, calling venues as a brand new business owner, and just being like, "Hey, we've got a coffee. We got coffee. You guys want to help us out? And then it was the same thing there, but now it's a lot different. It's our connections to other businesses. They come through the podcast, the one that we're doing right now, and they come through our community, our online community, which we should shout that out later in the episode.
Stay tuned, y'all.
Yeah, and they just come from people already enjoying what we do.
Mm.
So I just love that. I love it so much compared to just walking into a cafe, tail between legs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, hey, we have coffee.
I was telling Kent whenever we were in Pensacola that I think one of my favorite things I've come to love about this job is so when I was younger. Okay.
We got to back way up.
Let's take a step back. Let me kind of tap into the storytelling.
Okay. Thanks for giving us a heads up.
Going to my storytelling classes.
Thank you, Donald Miller.
When I was younger, I didn't come up from a family of people who did any travel for business. But my parents their jobs are very like local community oriented. Thankfully, I think that's probably even more valuable than what I'm about to say. But I do love that this job connects us to people in different cities to where every single place I go, I can kind of just think of someone that Valor has connected me to in that city and potentially see them. It's awesome.
It's a gift.
Yeah. That's all. Was that a good story? Did I bring that back to life?
The ending was the best part.
Okay.
Yeah. It ended with a bang.
In part 3 of hopefully 3 of 3, the story of Valor. Are you guys excited to jump into potentially our last part of this podcast?
The final part of Valor.
The final episode.
Yeah. Well, so we were going to do it in one episode. Did not happen. The first part, we talked about building the cart, building the business, or not even cold calling. We didn't get to that. And then part 2 was like our cart and then our pop-up. And then this part, we're going to pick up on our first cafe.
Yes, we are.
And the build out of such.
But first, what are we drinking?
Okay. We brought one back from last week, the microdose, I guess from the coffee movement. I didn't do enough recon.
I'm wearing the shirt.
You are repping the shirt. That is epic. They also sent us this coffee from Doc, which is called Yuzu Crew, Colombian Man, I don't know where I can get all the information.
Did you look online?
No.
I can. Is
Yeah,
there a
go
QR
ahead.
code?
No.
Man, we need to do QR codes on our packaging.
Oh, dude, that's
Oh.
genius.
Here, I'll slide that over.
Okay.
But the cool thing about this coffee is it was brewed with
Third
wave
wave water.
Water.
Okay, look, here's the thing. I got here and I'm like, I got to make the coffee. And I was like, we don't have any distilled water. And I was like, I can't make coffee like at this pedigree
Yep.
without it anymore. Because I know it's not going to be as clear, vibrant.
Vibrant,
It's
mostly.
like 60% better.
I'm going to just camp out on that word for a second. Vibrant. And I was like, well, I got to go get some.
Once you've gone third wave water, you can't go back.
Yeah, just prepare yourself.
Guys, he left and went and got he went and got the gallon of distilled water.
Yeah, at CVS.
It really happened.
Nay, 4, because I was like, this can never happen again.
Absolutely.
But I don't know how long 4 gallons will last. I feel like you did it like months ago. So,
Yeah.
because we're just brewing up pour overs.
Yes. And if you use code
Valor,
at checkout when you buy third wave water, you'll get
15% off.
and
First 5 orders every day, get a free cupping spoon and TDS water meter. How about that?
Pays for itself.
which, man, I mean, 5 orders a day. Do you think we're really pushing 5 orders a day?
I probably like 100.
Yeah, we're probably doing like 100. So you better
Like
like act.
500.
You better like go fast.
Act now.
Act now. Run, don't walk.
Would you like me to read off a little bit about this coffee?
Yes.
All right. A very sparkling Sudan Rumi.
Perhaps the farmer or
Do you think-
no. Crap, I said that.
No, I think
variety.
it is. I think
Variety.
it is.
Farmer.
No,
Elevation.
No.
MASL.
From Finca La Riviera in Colombian. In Colombian? What? I'm joking. It does say that though. This natural cold pressed coffee is very unique with tasting notes of yuzu, lemongrass, raspberry, I know, and orange blossom.
Wow.
Their tasting notes, their website's kind of bugging out on me. It's okay, guys. We've got our own website issues, we know. But it's supposed to have like little illustrations for the tasting notes, which is kind
Aw.
of cute.
That's cool.
Those are not co-ferments. Those are tasting notes.
Yes.
Okay.
Characteristics: natural cold press, Sudan Rumi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Altitude of 1,800 meters. Delivered in a 100% recyclable bag and recyclable box.
Thank you.
The cherries undergo an initial fermentation process where the temperature is allowed to rise to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius over 2 to 3 days. That's hot. Once fermentation is complete, the cherries are transferred from the grain pro bags to tanks for the next fermentation stage. During the second fermentation, the cherries are submerged in water kept between 0 to 8 degrees Celsius. That's cold. And undergo a controlled cold press fermentation for up to 4 days. This step maximizes the potential of the coffee beans. Wow, bold claim. After fermentation, the cherries are moved to parabolic, open, and ventilated African beds for drying.
Daggone.
This coffee is maximized.
The potential has fully been realized.
Per doc.
That's why you need to brew it with third wave water.
That's right.
To ensure.
We met the fine folk at Doc at SCA, Chicago.
Tell your story, dude.
No, I'm sure I already told him.
He's already told it.
I just really wanted to do a jersey swap with the guys, but
Dude, we have to do that. We got to put a to-do or something. Hey, podcast listeners, remind me in 1 week. Actually, that would be the worst time to remind me, maybe ever.
Well,
But
isn't this coming out later too?
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like a real jersey,
Whoa.
Valor jersey swap.
We need to make a jersey.
Yeah.
We need to bring it. We need to get someone else to also make a jersey and bring it. And we will do like a picture of Ethan and person like standing there. It'd be really funny if you guys were wearing like compression shirt underneath.
Yeah.
yeah,
And you like swap it.
And the jersey isn't like the one you can get at the store. It's like the one that is like really tight on your pads. You know what I mean?
on my muscles.
On his
Well,
pads.
Am I
Like-
wearing? Am
like
I
shoulder
in
pads.
full pads?
I know.
No, you're not. But you know the difference. Like, you go get a jersey at the store, it's like loose, but real jerseys are tight.
I got you. Do you think we can get that done? Just get one made.
We can get it done. I'm like, can you screen print on jersey material?
I feel like they're more like patches.
Well, it's definitely like a patch. I know. That just sounds high budget. It'll be worth it. Who cares? I'll pay anything.
And then we have to get another one made for someone else, or we're just banking on someone else
thinking that this is a good idea.
Dude, it's like us making...
Staging it.
Yeah, that makes it even funnier. So yes. All right, let's kick off into part 3. Ross, take it away. I'm going to go get some floss. I have some beef jerky stuck between my front 2 teeth.
Again?
Gross. There's a really key part of this story that I think we left out that we could pick up on.
Go ahead.
And it was the pay what you want campaign we did at the cart. I'm wondering what you remember about that idea and like just the overall operation of that.
Well, I think we led into like we got this opportunity to get the space in front of us. And I feel like an underlying theme of this company was like, and how kind of Valor got its ethos was it was so slow the first, year that, you can kind of do a couple things with that. You can like kind of pout, honestly, and like just make the coffee and get people out of there. But I feel like we really were just like going in on trying to get to know the community and the people and the relationships that were formed from that. And that's kind of what...
You talking about Thrive pop-up?
Talking about Thrive pop-up and like how that led into the Pay What You Want campaign. Mm-hmm. Basically like, and just the coworkers at the community space, like choosing to work nearby the cart just so we could like talk and hang out.
Yeah. Shout out Alec.
Shout out Alec. Shout out Alan.
Shout out Alan.
And I think when we got that opportunity to move ahead, I'm sure we were sharing that with regulars.
Yeah.
And I can't say this with confidence, but I know, I can't say this with confidence, but I would guess a lot of people are like interested in trying to figure out how they could participate or co-labor with that. And I think we were having that same thought. I was like, man, we have so many awesome regulars, even though we don't have that many. Like, I think people would probably want to like help us get over this because.
So we did it for them.
Yes, yeah, we let them give us money. But basically, it was like, let's just make a little menu of stuff that we do and have it be like hey, if you want to buy a box of coffee, but instead of $20, give us 40. Like that'll go to funding this cafe. And then the kicker was 12 months of unlimited coffee for like $600, which I'm sure we spent a long time figuring out that number and arguing about it. And it's funny to look back on how that is not that much.
Yeah. But it gives you the money now.
Yes.
With the coffee for a year model gives you the money now to work with for the build out. And then, once you have the coffee shop and you have other guests walking in, they're keeping you afloat and you've got some people coming in and getting quote unquote free coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really neat being back head coach in Alpharetta because like I kid you not, I think every day someone's like, I was at the cart,
Yeah.
And that's just awesome. It's been like 7 years, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I found the Pay What You Want menu.
What was going on?
It's wild. It says Valor is opening its first coffee shop. Pay What You Want campaign. Planned opening in summer 2019 at the front of 44 Milton. That's pretty accurate. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
We have over 90% of the funding, but just need a little bit more to reach our goal. Bag of coffee, 25 plus. Founders t-shirt, 100 plus. clean canteen and coffee for a year, $500.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What a steal.
So that was like, back in the day when you could go in a racetrack and get the cup, you get free ices all summer.
Yeah.
The big chug.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was that concept. Yeah, I mean, it worked. It worked. We raised some money through it.
Like over 10,000 or something?
Yeah.
And then there was
I think we stopped as soon as we hit that because we were like, we can't be going crazy on this coffee for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We literally just wanted to raise the money that we needed.
And the majority of those people, they showed up like every day to get coffee.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that did, we maybe broke even.
Do the
on it.
math.
I mean,
$5 coffees.
We've done that several times, and it's all for, it's all a product of cash flow. We needed the cash up front. We worried about the repercussions later.
It's always worked out more or less.
Yeah.
And then came the laborious and difficult task of selecting a GC, a general contractor. And we were learning about all this for the first time. We were like,
In lifetime, yeah.
when you open a coffee shop, what the heck are you supposed to think about? What are the boxes you need to check? And this is the kind of stuff that I love talking about in the podcast. I love talking about on our online community because I really wish someone would have helped us with that.
Yeah.
And we'll tell the story of some mistakes that we made on this first build out. But I think, did we get like 3 GC quotes?
3. Yep.
And then so you got to get your GC, you got to get your architect, draw up the plans, and there's a certain order to the whole thing. I think we're planning on we're planning on making a resource that sort of like walks you through a cafe opening checklist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of how to go about this, what order to do it in, some best practices we found. But what do you remember about these GC bids? I remember they were kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah, I can remember some rough numbers, right? So, two of them were in over $100,000. I'm thinking, was it like 150 to 200 range for 2 of them?
I don't know.
So let's say that like one of them was like 120 and the other one was like 180. And then the third one was like $65,000 or something.
Well, honestly, I think it was like 40 because
$40,000.
Because we did those and we were like, okay, we got to figure out what we can take off of the request.
And then we got it down to one guy. I could say his name, but his was 80. And then the guy we went with was 40.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And honestly, that was all crazy because it's funny when you're like, okay, yeah, we just got to run water to here, electrical here, $10,000, $15,000. And it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the biggest shock, at least for me, was this whole permitting process with even before you can pick a GC, you have to have your permits like ready to rock. And so you can't just do that on your own, but you have to have an architect draw up your plans. And then they usually partner with an MEP engineer, like a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer that like does the CAD files of your plan. I think the first time we did it cost like $8,000. And that's not an $8,000 we were planning on.
No.
It was like, someone's like, well, you got to get an architect. And we're like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, this is a line item. This is not like a little thing,
Yep.
And then the permits in themselves can cost thousands as well, which is kind of crazy. And that's all based, we've kind of got into this. I was thinking about how different like the story is for Elijah with Cafe Elliott, based on where you are in the country, your counties, your cities. He didn't have to drop anything. They were like, no, this is great. He like drew lines like water here, electrical there. And they're like, great. And that's cool.
Yep.
But
Good
I guess
for him.
Yeah, where we live, it's a little bit more high and tight.
Yeah, well, Alpharetta at that time was going through a revitalization, and I think they were probably more picky about it because the government officials were very, very hands-on with the development of that city. and they were pouring a ton of money into it. Wow, thank you, government. And
You're obsessed.
yeah. Anyways, I think they were just way more hands-on with it because it was like this whole project, Alpharetta, right? We were getting in right at that time.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking out loud. So it's like we only had so much money. I feel like I didn't even know how much money we had in the bank, but we borrowed we got a loan for 60, a personal loan, right?
Is it 60 or 40?
I'm pretty sure it's 60.
All right, it's 60.
And then another personal loan for 20, and then a pay what you want got 10.
Yeah.
So that's 90.
And then we had like 20K of working capital from our pop-up, which is amazing.
So amazing.
That's a gift. So yeah. So say we're gonna have like
overhead.
Yeah.
we have like around $100,000.
And that was us all making like $30,000
Very true.
in salary. So
And when an architect immediately takes out almost 10% of your build out that you didn't expect, I think that was a huge shot because it was like, okay, we have to like do this thing. And now we're getting these bids that were already at like our full, just to do the construction, not even equipment. We're getting bids that are over our entire budget. So it was like, okay, obviously we're going to take, no matter what, the lowest option. And you also pay a price for taking the lowest option.
We paid later.
We paid later over time.
Yep.
And similarly to how we had to do coffee for a year, it was a similar concept.
we paid what we want. We paid what we wanted, and look what it got us.
Yep.
Because it's just like things go a lot slower. Things are honestly just wrong. Communication is poor. The gentleman was very kind to take the job. The gentleman was like a deck builder.
Yeah.
The
He wasn't
gentleman
a commercial GC.
I think like a guy who knew us like asked him if he wanted to like do a little side project, like help these jamokes build out a coffee shop. So no shade. I mean, and he gave us a really low number for a reason. It was like, yeah, I can like fit it in to my schedule.
Right.
And there's like no project manager. It's just like a guy coming in and doing stuff. So yeah, that just leaves a lot of it was, I think, a big learning lesson there. And honestly, it carried over probably to this cafe or the roastery build out and the Dunwoody build out. This is like probably one of the more egotistical things I would say, was how much we realized that we had to like supervise the project across the board.
Yeah.
For all of our build outs. It was like if people were in the space working, the only way it was going to like get to where it needed to is if someone was there like pushing, not in like a mean way, but in like a, hey, let's figure this out. Because we would work with like plumbers and electricians that were just like, oh, don't have something, so I got to go. I'll be back in a couple weeks. And we're like, oh, we don't have a couple weeks, bro. Like,
I'll go get it.
I'll go get it. Or like, hey, let's just do this. And they're like, yeah, that'll work. That's fine. And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
They just don't want it as bad as we do, obviously.
Working on hourly too.
Right. Yeah. And so there's a lot there, but I would just say like, and I'm sure there's amazing project managers and GCs that can be that in a space. But a lot of times if you're paying on the low end of a budget, it's because they're also not paying a project manager to be like looking after the subs.
Yeah.
And that's also how it works. I don't know. We don't have to get into it, but like a general contractor is just like putting together a team of like specific skill set people to perform the job
And pulling the permit.
and getting the permit for you. It's not like one person's just like in charge of everything. He's in charge, but he's like delegating to smaller companies and subcontractors.
Yeah, and then like you're saying, like when you have a dedicated project manager, which in our case
was us,
it's just like that becomes a lot of your work week right there.
And that was a slight perk of the pop-up being right next to the space, because I'm like, guys, before you leave or if you run into any problem, I'm right back there. Just come get me.
Yeah.
Okay. Even in Dunwoody, bro, I remember like having to stick it out with the plumbers for hours because they were like not figuring out how to connect our water filter and run all the lines. And I had to like it was so awkward, but like pointing out errors and be like, we have to run it this way. It has to go this way. And
And with that being said, that's why the experience of us being project manager on at least one project was so invaluable. Because like, imagine if you hadn't done it and you just didn't know what you were doing under there. If you hadn't taught yourself something about plumbing, or
Sure.
I'm not saying you know more than these plumbers, but you know a thing or two about like some givens and obvious.
Yeah, and there's just something to a fresh set of eyes, when they're working.
Yeah.
And you can just come and look and try to problem solve with them.
So with that being said, no regrets on us project managing some build outs, but we probably won't do it again.
I hope.
Yeah.
Also, at this time, there was a huge thing that happened. We hired our first team.
Yeah, it was just been us.
We hired we had some different people helping us throughout the years a little bit. But as far as like our first team of people that were like, you are our employees, here's your wage, like this is the plan. This was the first of that. So yeah, we had 3 people, Caitlin, Jonathan, Matt. Those are some good times. I mean, I just remember and I talk about this all the time with people that are starting things, just the weight of I'm about to take on someone's livelihood. It is upon my business's shoulders to pay this person. And they are, especially if someone's full time with you, their whole wage is coming from you. They may have family members that they're supporting or, loved ones, whatever. And I remember feeling that pressure and just like, man, I hope this works because now we've got more people involved. And that was like, hiring people was one of the main reasons I wanted to start a business. Was like, I just want to build a team. I want to have employees because that was like, again, one reason to start a business is like to solve your own problems, right? And so places I worked, I saw all the ways that I was mistreated or whatever. It wasn't that bad, but like it could have been better. And so it's like, okay, I want to start my own thing and do it the right way, what is the right way? I mean, caring a lot gets you a long way in that process of like trying to figure out how to be a good employer. But anyways, do you guys remember sitting on the patio with them, just like laying out? I think it was like our first sort of like meeting all together.
Oh yeah.
All right. That's like one of my Valor moments. That was like a milestone, getting all of us in the same place and talking about what we're doing.
Gosh. Yeah. And talking about I didn't think I wasn't ready for that level of like pressure on myself that we were going to support people. I was always thinking about like the fun stuff. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is legit. Like we have to make enough money to pay them too. And I mean, I'm sure Jonathan doesn't mind. But like that night, that team night, he took me home to my house. And he's like, dude, we just found out that my wife's pregnant. I'm going to be a dad. I was like, dude, if there wasn't enough pressure already, we have to look out for a little one now. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then not only that, but like we were kind of roughing it through the pop-up and waiting for the cafe to open. And he tries to give his former employee a heads up that like he's taking a new job. And they're like, well, today's just your last day then. And this was like a month or 2 before we were supposed to open. And he comes to us and he's like, I just got fired. We're like, welcome aboard, brother.
Yeah.
Like,
hope it works.
Let's just throw you in.
So he was working with us at the pop-up when the plan was to just bring him on and bring everyone on once we opened.
Yeah. And you think like, oh, well, that's just a person. But I'm like, that's thousands of dollars a month that we weren't spending, But obviously it was invaluable in that like, he could be more trained up when we opened the cafe. Because, I mean, a gift of having the pop-up right next to the cafe. I mean, we opened for, 4 hours on our first day?
Was it 10 to 2?
Something like that. Or 8 to 12.
8 to 12, I believe.
Because we had a wedding to bartend.
Yes.
Shout out Matt. Yeah, I mean, we were line out the door, which line out the door for Alfred is not the craziest thing in the world. It's like 5 people, but we were lining out the door like all day, and it was like, okay, we in it.
Good.
We in it.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. I know I jumped ahead a little bit, but that was the craziest thing, being open in like our space, because doing a pop-up is really great for your business, but it's also like, if you're as, I guess the only word I can think of is anal about like your brand as we are, like pulling off your company being in another company's space is really tricky. Funny story about that is we would always get in music wars with the co-working space because they were on like a Sonos system, and we would just play our own music, which was way better. Okay. Ross objectively knows how to carry a vibe in a space. You are a playlist magician.
In terms of music.
Yeah.
Like not
Just music.
not like
Witchcraft, like dark arts. You're
not
not
dark arts.
I don't do that.
You
stuff.
don't do the dark arts. This guy is, it's tasteful. It's not just like young, loud music. It was great. But they would play, Jack Johnson radio. And so they were
Vance Joy.
Yeah, they were doing
Pandora.
They were doing a lot of Pandora radio.
Yeah.
So what we do is we start getting on the Pandora radio, and you know how you can like kind of craft. You can give songs the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and we were just like thumbs upping and downing everything to just turn all of their radios into music that we like.
It became like a game where it'd be like Vance Joy down, Lumineers down.
Yeah.
If you like this music, I'm sorry. Mumford and Sons down, and then it'd be like finally like Bon Iver, and we'd be like up.
Lord Huron up, Tame Impala
It would
up.
be like it'd be like to the point where it's a game and like a Tame Impala song would hit. We'd be like yes, up, and then it'd like get in the direction to the point where Vance Joy radio was then just like
Tame Impala
radio.
That is one of my proudest moments.
And then some songs come on, and you'd be like, do I up this or do I down it? Like,
what are the implications?
And we had time to think about all that stuff because we didn't have any guests.
Who's that guy that sings that song? It's like, nothing feels better than this. You know what I'm talking about?
What was it again?
George Ezra.
No, it's
That
like
was another one.
it's like I don't know.
No. We can figure this out.
Let's press in. Let's figure it out.
Well, anyways, like that, it's like towing the line of like pop, and we're like, do we? Anyways,
Let it ride.
one last thing. I was just looking at pictures of our space from way back, and it is so different now because we went in with no money. So it was just like, how are we going to decorate this space? We're going to paint the walls, and we're going to get hue bulbs in our globe lights.
I think that was smart.
And
Smart.
we're going to just let color dictate
Yeah.
this space. And that's what we did. We had literally a white FRP. FRP is like a smooth surface,
Impermeable.
Non-porous.
that's the cheapest option for that. That was our back wall. No shelf
Because you couldn't have one.
because you couldn't have one.
Wink, wink.
And then it was just like the globe lights, some paint on the walls, and that was it. And then slowly, as we came into money, it's kind of funny to call it that because I don't think that's a good. We
came into
reinvested
some money.
We reinvested all of our earnings, and I've continued to always do that. Put up a shelf. Eventually, a while after, tile the backsplash, and it just looks very different now.
It is different.
Yeah.
I like our commitment to renovating the space.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my biggest passions that we do, and you're a great pusher for that. So thank you, Riley. But it's kind of hard when you go into a space that like was a cool cafe 3 years ago, and then you come back and you're like, they ain't changed a thing. Like,
Yeah.
and it's in a bad way, as in like things are just getting dirtier and worse.
Yep.
Because we fight that, Some of our best memories were those Buildout nights, though. We'd be up at 5:36 to work all day at the pop-up, and then we would do our portion of the Buildout, like the painting and the equipment and the trim and all that stuff, like from 6 to midnight.
Yeah.
A lot of nights. And we're just getting absolutely loopy out of our minds. Cut to the video of you rocking out to the air, like the dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that.
On the counter, barefoot, broom.
I mean, we were just doing anything we could to get it across the finish line because I was doing it for myself and my business and for you guys, but I was doing it for the employees too because it's really hard to manage the timing of all that. You know, you've spoken for 3 people, if you will, but you've got to get the thing open to employ them truly to get money coming through the door.
Well, not to mention timing and pressure. I remember us just standing behind the bar at the pop-up, and you look over and you're like, dude, Rachel's pregnant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, there's another baby in the mix.
Yeah.
Failure is not an option.
I know. Yeah, but those are all, I appreciate having all of those added pressures
It's good.
and that motivation to get it done because you know like there's a little bit less of that in Dunwoody, right? And that's fine. That's really fine. But I think you know, and when we built out Dunwoody, we'll get to this later. But when we built out Dunwoody, we were able to work like during the day, you know, like during business hours, as opposed to at that time. We had to keep the pop-up going to just keep revenue coming through the door, especially because Jonathan was, I think, working the pop-up a good bit of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 of us at a time would do that.
It was getting to the point. I mean, I know we always talk about how slow the pop-up was, but I remember like we were in quad digits, like doing 1,000 plus
Oh, yeah.
every day. And especially the weekends were, you know, pretty big lines.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so open in August. We've got to kind of do some cliff notes here, but have our first 3 employees, and then we hired 2 more employees in October because we're like, oh, we're actually getting kind of busy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hired more employees before the year was out, and then as we inch into 2020, there's a couple of things that I don't tie myself to. I don't know why. I forget. I guess it's not. It is a core identity of our company, but I don't think of it as one. I don't think of it as a core identity that we came from a mobile operation. I don't know why. I don't think about that. I guess I'm just like quick to forget because I'm like, we just have cafes. And then I also don't tie myself to like, oh, we opened right before COVID.
Okay, that is fair. I don't think about that.
I don't think about that at all. I feel like there was a lot of time that passed before, which there wasn't. And
Less than a year.
Yeah, I don't.
Some are saying 6 months.
Yeah. And I don't know why I feel that way, but
Probably, I bet the pop-up helped. Like,
Yeah.
kind of a switch. But I know it. I feel like a lot of times when you're talking to other business people, you can hear like this story of like, yeah, we opened, then COVID hit. And it's like, I guess that maybe 6 months or like the pop-up just was long enough that it wasn't our framework.
Pop-up, I think, was a big part of that. And roasting too. You know, remember like when shelter in place hit, our e-com just like blew up, relatively speaking.
yeah.
Which is just such a testament to how we've grown since then. Because I remember, you know, after a day of packaging, my whole front seat was stacked up with packages. And now it's like, if we had that many packages going out the door on a roasting day, I'd be like, man, what is wrong? What is wrong with our operation?
Yeah.
Which is so cool. But I think that was also a distractor. Like we were able to have that money coming through from our roasting operation. Wholesale basically totally went away because things were closing. But
When did Dale start roasting?
It was probably on the early side of it's like summer 2020, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Like June or July. But yeah, I think a part of it, yeah, what you're saying is totally true about the e-commerce and so on and so forth. And a part of it is just honestly that we were more fortunate than a lot of businesses and a lot of places who had more strict closing rules. Like we obviously had some close and take away only things for a long time, but like at least we were still able to operate. So April, we opened in August. We're, growing our business, getting steady, understanding how to do our operation, learning things that we just didn't know before that we kind of needed to know to run our business. And then as we sprinkle into March and April was the slowest month we had to date because just no one was going anywhere. And then May was the busiest month we had to date. We kind of did some rearranging of things. We basically made inside of our cafe become storage of green coffee since we were still roasting at Peach.
Good times.
And we moved our cart outside, painted it as like a to-go unit.
To-go mobile.
And from late April, early May to October, you came to Valor and you ordered out front, or if it was raining, just like right inside the door. And the inside of our cafe was like a back of house.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think what I remember about that time, well, first, like nobody knew what COVID was, like when it first hit, like, is it like the freaking Black Plague? Like, are we all about to die? Or is it nothing, And what I love about that time is like, it was a test to show you what you're made of. And I think when stuff like that happens, like really difficult, challenging, unprecedented stuff, it shows you what you're made of. And I was just so proud of our team and our company that, for a second we were like, okay, what is this, kind of having some fear. And then after that, it was just like, okay, how are we going to make the most of this? Like, what are we going to do to be a part of the group of people that like get lemons and make lemonade, and like be a bright light and uplift people through coffee. That's our mission. And I think like so much ingenuity and even innovation and like reworking of systems and like just resiliency was built in that time. And I just like, not everyone feels this way, but I just look back on that time with so much like fondness. Like that was just such a rich time to like overcome so much negativity and so much fear that was happening, and to just like have that cart, painted really silly, and like there's a Zac Efron quote on the side of the cart.
Troy Bolton.
Sorry.
Troy.
Yeah, Troy Bolton. High School Musical. But it was just fun to like be us in that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was an insane time for communities, and people were experiencing loss and anxiety. And so that's kind of where we built in these like uplifting things, like, giving people stickers, writing things on cups and boxes. And like, honestly, it's just, even in such existential turmoil for people, they're like getting a coffee and like receiving a smile or knowing that they are loved or appreciated went so much. And I think that's why the summer was so popular for us. Is people just need to get out, and whether it was like do the clusive mobile order pickup where you just run something to your car, if you just don't want to see anything, but know that like you're going to get a drink with a cute note on it and someone's going to be really happy to run that out to you. That's sometimes all people are getting for the day.
It went a long way during that time for sure.
And then we all got COVID in October.
Yeah.
And that's when
everyone in the company.
That's when we received a really nice sentiment while we were all gone of like, man, the city is kind of off without Valor being there for like 10 days. It was like, dang. So that was a cool challenge to like choose optimism, choose hope, like love our community. It was a hoot. And the team was a lot better off for it. And yeah, we've just been going up from there. And then even during that year, we were building out this whole John.
Yeah, totally. That was I guess start of 2020, especially after we had our own cafe, we're pushing our own volume of product. And I say this as like no slam to them whatsoever. I'm saying this as like it was the truth. We were beginning to outstay our welcome at Peach because like we were just roasting too much coffee, and we were like dominating their space on our roast days, coming in there with, we started with filling up buckets in our storage unit, and then we ended with
Sacks.
with like bringing sacks of coffee.
Yeah.
In my Forerunner, we upgraded the car.
For those that
storage.
didn't listen to last week, Peach was the name of the roaster that we roasted at twice a week at that time.
Yep.
If you're listening to part 3 and you haven't listened to the other ones, you're a sicko. Okay.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, so we're bringing in sacks and sacks of coffee, multiple boxes of bags and just so much stuff. And, it gets to the point where, they're also a growing roaster. They need to use their own roaster at different hours. So it came to a point where we're like, okay, we gotta look at doing this. There is a global pandemic, but this is a point of our company, a fork in the road of, do we grow or do we die? I mean, I really think that was what it is. It's like, there's no other option than to go that trajectory, to take a risk, sign a long lease on a roasting space, and just do it.
And it wasn't like, I feel like it wasn't that crazy. We're like, okay, let's just like try to find a small space, 1,000 square feet. We're like looking around. We found this really nice one down the street from the cafe, less than 1,000 square feet, little office. And we're like, yeah, we can do this. And they're like, there's actually another coffee roaster and they have a non-compete for roasting in the industrial space. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
And then that led us to finding this, 3,800 square foot thing that was like, how in 3,300 square foot, like what in the world are we going to do with all this space?
Yeah, but the rent was a third of that flex industrial space. And that was where we were like, wait a second. This is
Volume discount?
This is kind of weird. And shout out to Mike.
Mike Barron's.
Man, I have so many fond memories of Cafe Regular, who is in commercial real estate, just really took us under his wing because we had never really gone down this path. We had looked at some commercial real estate when looking at for our first cafe, but we obviously ended up in a situation where we were just talking with people that we know and negotiating a lease that way. So Mike, who does this for a living, he starts, I just think of us riding around in his Land Cruiser, looking at spaces, and it was eye-opening. And obviously seeing that one, 1,000 square feet for $30 a square foot versus 3,000 square feet for $12 a square foot, and so on and so forth. So he helped us realize, we should probably get a space that we can grow into. We won't be spending that much more money. And heck, I think he was right.
He was right. Thank you, Mike.
If we would have gotten that 1,000 square foot space, how would our company be different right now?
It's hard to say because
people do more with less than what we have.
This is what I was going to say. So like the revenue produced per square foot is an interesting number. Like the revenue per square foot, we'll go back to the accounting firm. Back in the day, we talked about accounting firms on the podcast. The revenue per square foot of an accounting firm is like really efficient, right? You have not a lot of square feet, really high revenue. This business is the opposite. And so I think like with that 1,000 square foot space, one, it was just a bad deal because it was like so expensive per square foot. Like you said, 30 something per square foot. So that's really not even that good of an example. So it's like, why not just get the bigger one? But there was a long period of time where when we ran the true cost of like everything considered, payroll, utilities, cost of green coffee, labor, all that. When you consider all those costs, how much are we making in profit per pound? And the numbers may shock you because I think, like let's say a pound of coffee wholesale is $11 a pound. Do you remember what some of those early numbers were?
14.
Of like what our cost was?
Oh, our actual cost,
yeah.
labor and everything considered,
Yeah.
$22 a pound.
So we were paying $22 a pound to sell something for $11 a pound.
Yes, we were.
And you may scoff at that, and you should, rightfully so. But this is a common theme with this whole business, that the fact that us three owners are very, very aligned with our trajectory in our company, that's the only thing that matters. That's the thing that matters the most, really. It's like there would have been no reason to sign a lease. There would have been no reason to reinvest all of the money that we've made over the years into the business if we weren't like really on the same page that this is our career for now, and like we don't have this exit strategy. Not that an exit strategy is bad at all, but like that's just not where we're at right now. And so we said, okay, we're going to pay $22 a pound of coffee, but we believe that we are going to grow into this roastery, and darn it if we haven't, because this place is like full, and we'll continue to talk about it, but I'm glad we're here.
Me too. It was a great decision.
Our first roast day was New Year's Eve going into 2021. So December 31st of 2020.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have a ton of time to dive into the build out of this space, but it was definitely a different situation where we were working with a much larger entity that owns this entire complex we're in. And they essentially have a general contractor on staff. So we were like, and also we were working with someone who was giving us a decent amount of TI allowance and white boxing our space for us. So just a lot of
offices, right?
Yeah, this was all offices, and they leveled them, and then basically like built a custom to spec like wall over there, and then also so it was like giving us that. Plus, I was like, will you do our build out as well? And then they did our stuff, which was essentially like, some lights, running a gas line to our roaster, and then like the plumbing for our lab area. And then making a bathroom back there, because the bathroom used to be over there. So that, all of those things, working with them, it was like, I think we obviously spent more, especially because of buying the roaster, than we did on our cafe. Mm-hmm. But again, very low budget build out. Again, I had to very much project manage the situation, even though this time there was a project manager, but I think he was just overwhelmed with the amount of jobs. So I had to really make sure, like, hey, did you remember to put that outlet there? And then they were like, no. And they were like, the concrete's already poured or whatever. And I'm like, oh.
We really made friends with some of the guys that were working on the space. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The good guys.
Friendships that last to today, right?
No, they lasted until the end of the build out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's this build out of this space. During all this, we'd kind of just be over here a lot. Obviously, we'd have to drive from the cafe, but roasting at Peach at that time. And then making the move. I remember the day we moved everything from our storage unit to over here. I remember just like building everything in here, getting everything hung. And then when we first started, in this space, day to day, it was just a few of us over here. And Dale just roasted the coffee. Ross packaged it. And then early on into 2021, we hired Sam, who now is our lead roaster. So
Roastmaster General.
Crazy. And now this space looks very different because it's just full of stuff. It used to be very empty and wide. And
yeah, the uglier it gets, the better our business is.
It's true.
That's my motto for this place. It used to look real pretty, which is not good.
Yeah.
For a warehouse.
I'm like, is it possible for us to have a pretty warehouse again in the future?
I mean, yeah. Have you seen example? I mean, there's so many coffee roasters that have like functional, huge headquarters that also look amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like we're just not there. There's no way we're gonna like build a wall to cover this ugly shelf. It just doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah. I want to get there again someday.
yeah,
But again, it's just like, is that a thing that makes us money? I don't know.
Money.
It's not all about money,
But
but yeah,
it is partly about money.
Making an investment, you want to see a return on that.
Yeah. So we end up here. We are trying to grow our roasting operation. We're what's it called? Gorging?
bleeding,
We're bleeding cash.
hemorrhaging.
That was how we would refer to it whenever we looked at those numbers of $22 a pound of costs. We were hemorrhaging cash.
Every time you roast and sell coffee, you lose money. But also, that's the only thing to fix it.
Yes.
Isn't that funny?
It's crazy.
Wow.
And so for the longest time, our roastery was the crutch of our company, and our cafe was the cash cow. That's what we would always call it.
Yeah, the golden goose.
The cash cow. And we would constantly finding ways for the cafe to get money to the roastery.
What if they paid $22 a pound for the coffee?
Yes. Yeah. So, those things started to sort themselves out for sure, but they were not sorted when we opened Dunwoody by any means.
Well, I think one of our answers was like, okay, to grow the roastery, we have to open more cafes.
Yeah.
So that the roastery can roast more coffee.
Because our cafe is our biggest wholesale account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still are.
Still is.
Yep.
Ran the numbers yesterday.
Yeah. So, we're kind of looking that over. And when would you say we got serious about opening cafe number 2? Around like summer 2021?
Yeah, because it took a while.
Yeah.
Because we didn't sign a lease until March 22. And I remember it had to have been late summer, early fall. We actually looked at the Dunwoody space.
Yeah.
And I think you were with me. And
they were one of the first people to reach out to us with an opportunity.
And that's a whole topic right there.
Yeah.
Cafe 1, we're going out looking like crazy, begging people to let us open a cafe in their space. Cafe number 2, and to this day, after we've established a cafe, a proof of concept, a brand that people like, we have people reach out to us now. And that is a huge differentiator.
Yeah, on paper, the terms were just an absolute game changer. Because, I mean, that word is leverage or like power.
Yeah.
We had neither of those things when we were negotiating our first lease. And I'm grateful that we got it. But, I mean, anytime we would ask for anything in that first one, it was like, well, you haven't done anything with a business yet. We're totally taking a risk on you guys. Like, we can't invest in this at all. Like, the risk has to be all on you guys. And it was like, okay, we'll start paying rent right when we sign the lease, and we'll take no TI. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And hey, it's a great space. And I'm thankful for the opportunity. It was just like, we had to eat that risk. But this time people were like, oh, your coffee shop's awesome. Like, put one here. We'll help. And I mean, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this program, coffee shops oftentimes need help to open. So it was like, yeah, we'll do this to the space. We'll give you this TI. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. But yeah, we looked at it and we were like,
yeah.
Nah.
We were just like, should we open a coffee shop in Dunwoody?
Maybe
Maybe it was raining that day.
Well, the ceilings were low because it was a drop ceiling.
Yeah, it looked pretty awful.
And there were only windows on like the front and like one little corner. And I was like, too dark back there.
Yeah.
It's too low. And we're on it's on the back side of
Also, the windows were like wood.
Yeah, the windows were darker.
Like residential style.
The doors were residential as well. And the vibe wasn't there. And I was like, because it was on the backside of a plaza as well. And I was like, traffic's not really there. I was like, parking's there. It's good parking. And it used to be a dry cleaner, so I had like a little drive-through. And I'm like, well, it doesn't actually work for like a coffee drive-through, but this is kind of like a random thing. And we just kind of looked at it, and the lady was like, got any questions? I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And so we get into this whole thing with an Atlanta project for months where we're like, gonna put a coffee shop.
We're like walking it with hard hats.
Yeah, we got hard hats on. We're like bringing Mikey in to like look at it and be like, this is going to be your cafe. You're going to run this thing. And then that falls through. And that took what? That was like at least 6 months.
It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Though it fell through because that whole part of town that they were revitalizing, that whole project fell through.
Yeah, that wasn't why, though. A bigger named coffee shop decided they wanted the space.
Oh, right.
And they were like,
but it eventually
Yeah, we were,
fell through.
because we were like, please let us sign an LOI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. But the lovely real estate person had to kind of hold the tension, waiting on the
that's
priority.
right.
They're like, yeah, we'd love to have you. We're just waiting on a few things. You know?
Yeah.
And it's basically like, does this other person want to say yes?
They had a wax
They
model.
did, and they have a coffee shop there.
Really?
Yeah.
It's open?
Yeah, I mean the company, the owner of all of that development filed for bankruptcy, but the project still continued. I think that they just sold.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm just spreading mis and disinformation.
Hey, that's fine, man. It's your podcast.
We should stigmatize you doing
You
that.
can do whatever you want.
Well, this is another good lesson we learned along the way, that when you are going to potentially pursue another opportunity, so in our case, that was opening a first location, opening this HQ, opening a third location. When you think about, all right, it'd be nice in like 2 years to have that cafe be open, or 1 year, right? Like, you need to start looking now. And I just remember it feeling even more risky and scary and concerning to be preemptively looking for these pieces of real estate when we really weren't ready.
Yeah, because we're about at the 2-year mark, which is already, I mean, for some businesses, they'd be well past us, but
Yeah.
we had a lot of standards and we wanted to try to model and make the cafes like sustainable. So it was around the 2-year mark that we started looking, but Dunwoody didn't open until over almost the 4-year mark of Alpharetta being open. So anyways, long story short, a higher up real estate agent for that Dunwoody project reached out again. It was like, hey, I know you already checked it out, but why don't you just come walk the space with me and we'll see what's up. And she was a little bit more like, what's wrong with this space? I'm like, well, the windows are a little like, man, it's kind of dark. She's like, we'll get new windows. It's like, well, they're all at the front. Like, what about on this side? She's like, let's add a window. It's like,
we need a grease trap.
It's like, well, yeah, we'd have to get in a grease trap. I'm like, oh, we'll drop one in. Like, there's only one bathroom. We kind of always wanted 2 for a coffee shop. They're like, we'll add a bathroom. And it's like, ceilings are kind of low. Like, we'll knock it out. I'm like, okay, I'm not used to this, but
Yeah.
So it made it happen. Shout out Leslie.
Yeah, that was very, very eye-opening to what we could ask for. And now, I mean, I would just be honest. When we get an email in our info email that's like, hey, we have this exciting new development. At this point in our company, we're not really trying to open anything immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So I respond and I'm like, hey, we're only like, in nice words, like we're only entertaining turnkey like situations. Which is saying like, we're not going to put $1 towards this. And then usually they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But it helped me understand, what we can ask for. And it's like, all they can say is no. And we probably weren't going to do it anyway. So I'm just going to say it.
Right. Yeah. And all that to say, it was still what? 4 times more expensive than Alpharetta?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe.
For sure.
In part because of the square footage.
In part because of the square footage. In part because we went way nicer on everything in there as far as like equipment and fixtures. It's still a very sparse space, but we did more built-in type stuff for our furniture. We got, and then it's all the things we now have in Alpharetta that we didn't initially have. We got it from the jump in Dunwoody. As far as, nice espresso machine, kegging, keg operation, draft stuff, nice refrigerators, nice furniture, nice chairs, nice patio furniture.
I really enjoyed designing that space, like with you guys. That was really fun. The
3D model.
Yeah, right, in the croissants.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to right all of our wrongs with our first build out, and one of those was we always wanted to have a center bar because I think we saw that a lot with cocktail bars. And I also remember walking into Revelator in Chattanooga, which isn't there anymore. But that was one of the first places I saw in coffee where they had like this rectangular central bar. And I just loved how like all of the life and the guests in the space were like, coming out of the nucleus of the bar. Do you guys still like it? The center bar?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There are certain limitations. Basically, like, you can't change much because everything's underground.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about how we kind of want a turbo chef. And we're like, I don't know if that big, thick 240
wires going through the conduit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love it, bro. It's so open and like accessible from all sides. And I mean, as far as like, I think a huge point of Valor is creating these like human to human interactions. So just like concierge being at the edge of the bar so that you don't have to stand behind a counter, to like running drinks. Anybody can do it from any side. People are like kind of hanging out on all different sides of the cafe. But then it's kind of a big enough space that if you want to have some distance and just be on your computer or something, you can do that as well. So
could we just take a quick pit stop? Because I bet people will be interested in this, in espresso machines. How did we acquire our espresso machines for our first and second cafes?
Yes. Ethan was scrolling Craigslist in early 2019, late 2018.
it's sat in my garage for a while. So yeah.
He's scrolling Craigslist and he looked up coffee machine. Coffee machine or coffee maker.
Yeah.
I just think of that shows you how it was a different time, is that you were on Craigslist.
Not Facebook
Marketplace. Not Facebook Marketplace. And he sees in the little thumbnail image, you know what? You tell it.
Okay.
I love telling your story for you.
I think it was David Lamont we were talking about like how to become a tech, or like, because that was part of our model. Like one of us needed to be a tech. And he was like, you should buy a Linea off Craigslist and like fix it up. And I was like, okay. So I'm like Googling espresso machine. Then I'm like, some people might be listing things under like coffee maker or coffee machine. So I'm looking at that. And then I just see like a Keith Van der Westen Spirit triplet, which is like it's that right there. Blocked by the epic third wave water sign.
That one's for free, third wave water.
And I was like, what? And it was like listed for $12,000. And those are usually like high 20s, low 30s. And I was like, we got to get this thing. Like that's a must. And so I think we were like,
you think you just like group chatted it to us, and me and Ross were like, what?
Yeah. That's like it's a meme of a machine, especially at that time. Like espresso machines were not that expensive.
And there also was not a single cafe with a Keith Van der Westen Spirit in the state of Georgia.
Right. It was insane. So I was like, hey, how did it get here? It's in Lawrenceville, which is a kind of more industrial part of the metro Atlanta area. And it's on like a pallet. I'm like, what? And so I was like, hey, I'll bring $9,000 cash today to pick it up. And they're like, sure.
And then we were like, will you take 8? And they were like, no.
Nothing like starting higher.
And it's funny because you said, we'll bring $9,000 cash. We didn't have $9,000.
That was,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we had to make some.
That's right.
We had to call your dad.
Yeah. I called my dad and I was like, can I borrow $9,000? I'll have it back in 2 weeks or something. Because I was like,
I swear.
I like estimated the sales that we were going to do over the next 2 weeks or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, yeah. And so
we drive over with the Tacoma. And granted, this thing has not been, it's not on. There's no way to plug it in. The Keith Van der Westen is also insane in that like it has like 4 exterior pumps. So it's just like, and I don't know how any of this works because we just have the GS3, which is all like nice and together. I was like, what is this thing? And we take it to Ronnie's Brandon at the time.
Yep.
And he like just does like
Bronny's is a coffee tech
thank you
in Atlanta.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think they just like do a few $100 worth of tweaks on it, and they're like, yeah, it works. And we're like, okay. And I don't even know if we were like set to open a cafe, because I think it was
Oh yeah.
late enough, or like somewhere in 2018 enough that like this was just for the future.
We were like, we want to open a cafe next year. We need to. We're going to open a cafe somewhere. We're just going to hold on to this. It's too good.
So
of a
it's
deal.
sat in my garage for like over a year.
That's why we had to borrow money, because it's not like we started to build out. Like it's not like we started to accumulate a budget for a build out.
Yeah.
Like I probably wasn't even like full time with Valor yet, but we were out here getting this. So, and I mean, it served us really, 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 really well.
We got our 9.
We got our
worth.
9 from it.
Could have been 8.
Could have been 8 if
We would just offered that right from the jump.
And then for Dunwoody, we really liked having like these split positions in the cafe of like brewer who makes the shots and then expo finishes the drinks. I'm sure it's a very common practice. But we were like, what if we could separate the group heads and the steam ones so that this person at expo has the leisure of utilizing 2 steam wands. And that was kind of the whole ethos. Maybe Mod Bar also has that under counter feel, and so being in the center, it'd be a little bit less of like a boom block in your space visually. And I think we just like bought it through a tech, through Caleb, through Bronny's.
Oh yeah.
And
Friend of the program.
And I don't want to talk about it that much. All right, it's fine. The group head part I think is pretty good, but we're still facing some like power problems with the steam wand. When you activate both, the power drops too much for it to get that top 1% excellent microphone.
That we're
Which
after.
is disappointing coming from La Marzocco, which
Sure.
is tied to Mott Bar.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the answer will be at the end of the day. I don't know if it like the lines are too long or what, but it should function, and it's suboptimal right now. But hey, we'll just keep squeaking, see if we can make something happen.
And then we also somewhere along the way got a La Marzocco Strata EP.
From
MP converted
to an EE.
to an EE.
EE.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That we were going to use here in the lab. Use that for a while. And then eventually replace the Spirit in the cafe, just because mostly it was getting really run down, but it was only getting run down because parts were so difficult to get for it. So I feel like we weren't able to really maintain it the way it ought to be.
Yeah, and it's like electrical system. I feel like was kind of finicky in that like it all ran so close to the boilers. Like it was just so hot and like intermittent. Like the switches would just like sometimes work and sometimes they wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I know Riley was really amped on the like integrated scale model for accuracy. And so that was kind of a helpful transition. So now we have like the brew by weight, I guess is another way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's solid.
Pretty nice.
And I just realized that you can switch both of them to volumetric if you have problems with your scales.
Did you say what the new machine is?
Strata S,
Strata S. Yeah.
not the X, guys.
Kind of wish we would have got the X
Wow,
in a way, but
sure.
mainly just for
The flow rate.
the flow rate stuff, the pressure profiling for our middle childs specifically.
That'd be fun to slow it down.
Because especially with this whole Scott Rao filter 3.0
3.0
stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's nice.
Do you guys want to end with?
Well, where are we now?
Well, I was going to say
I'm the host.
we could end with where are we now and what are we excited about for the next chapter.
And
Of
where
Valor.
were we when we started the podcast? Because most people know us
Oh my gosh, you're
via,
right.
From the
via
podcast.
podcast.
That's true.
It's kind of an anchor of the company now.
Yeah,
It was January 2022.
that's right.
So this is while we're looking to sign the Dunwoody space.
Mhm.
And that might have been Was it really 2022?
Yeah.
Or was it 2021?
It was 2022.
Okay. We just didn't start Buildout until like later. Because remember, we took like a hiatus.
It took a year post-lease.
To open.
Oh, I meant
open
like,
the cafe.
but we took time off from the pod for a little bit.
Totally.
But I
Like
guess we had
January, February, March.
of 2023.
Correct.
So yeah, we did it for a year. So we were like going to open a second cafe, and maybe that's part of it. Like maybe we should like document and share the progress this time, and like share our learnings. Because I mean, like obviously we're only 6 years into having this company, and like the Roastery's not like we're not like a highly successful company, so it's not like we're starting a podcast from like this expert, like, hey, check out our cool stuff. But why do you think we started it if that wasn't the case?
One of the most early thoughts is actually like a little bit contrary to what you're saying, but only this point is, which is coffee carts. Like,
okay, that's fair.
We started as a coffee cart, and that was in 2016. And as we've said on the program, at that time, there weren't that many coffee carts out and about. And so we became known a little bit more nationally because we were one of the few coffee carts in the Southeast. And people would reach out to us a good bit on Instagram, like wanting to pick our brains or like hear our story or like, how did you do it? Because there wasn't just that there was hardly any resources out there to help with that. So people just ended up contacting us for that. So we were like, man, we just need to like sit down, even if it's just like a voice memo, and just record. I actually have the voice memo on my phone. We did that. I don't know if you remember that. We sat in there and we were like, okay, this is what it would be like to record a podcast. Let's tell the story of, or maybe we were like meeting with someone. Like that, people would always ask to come to the Roastery and like hear our story with coffee carts. Anyways, so that was one of the reasons, was like, let's just get it out there once and for all. This is everything we know about coffee carts. And that is one of our most popular podcasts to this day.
And what better way to start than having our friend David Funk be on the program for our first episode?
Yeah. Started off real cash.
We were also just like, we don't get to talk to each other anymore because we're just scattered about. And it was a good way for us to sit down and talk for 2 hours about football.
Or three.
And it was called Coffee Sometimes Podcast.
That's right.
Because the whole idea was we're going to talk about coffee sometimes.
Yeah.
But most of the time, apparently, it's going to be other topics that just we want to talk about.
Yep.
Which that was like what you're saying, that was the theme early on. I think it was really important for us in that time with the Dunwoody Buildout going on and all, like we were just pretty spread thin. So it was important for us to just hang out for a bit.
Yeah. If you've been around since the beginning, if you're a trail bay, remember that?
Yeah.
Bro.
Smash like and comment below and let us know that you're out there so we can see it.
Olson, Matthew, my dad, we see you.
Yeah.
Care Bear.
Yeah.
Josh Cappuccino.
Man.
So that was a podcast.
Yeah. So talking about where we are now, what we're excited for. I mean, I think a lot of this year has been, how can we make this company work long term for, scalability purposes, for, to help our employees grow with it and to help us as three owners be able to sustain our lives with this company.
Growing families.
So a bit of, talking about reinvesting. It's like we've done that for so long, and it's not a bad thing to start making some money from your own company. So a part of it has been, how are we going to make this company work efficiently, work on a budget? We're still working on some of that stuff, but this year we were like, let's maximize what we have. Let's take our cafes to the next level. Let's take our wholesale program to the next level. Let's take our e-commerce to the next level. And so we've all kind of taken a department there. And so for me right now, I'm like, I want our website to be world-class, which has involved a lot of changes, a lot of money, a lot of my time, and we're still not there. It's like when you want to take a next step with a piece of technology like that, and you don't have a massive budget for testing, there are a lot of bumps along the way. So I've been dealing with those bumps and just dealing with this huge project that I'm working on for our, new product pages. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited
awesome.
to see that come to completion and continue to grow.
Yeah. And then, I mean, for me with the cafes, I think it's a similar part as far as like sustainable and modeling, because we're like constantly getting busier, both cafes year over year. And it's like, what do you do about that? And I think for a while we were like, let's start staffing up. Let's start like getting a lot of margin, a lot of people in here, a lot of people we can like call on. And there's some good things to take from that. But I think we were like realizing that we are capable of so much more if we are like dedicated and we want to maximize, and so that we can pay people the most and they can get the most like tips per hour. So we started, I think that was like a kind of a call out to the whole crew. Everybody's like, yeah, let's not add like that 6th, 7th person every day, but let's call ourselves higher as a team so that we can be more valuable as individuals, so that we can, because it was only like a year ago we started doing these pay bands. Let's see if we can like get to the top end of these pay bands, because that's like an everybody wins model, is when the people you have working in the cafes are the most like valuable and efficient and like I don't know, epic. But that's been a cool journey to see, not only us try to think about like how do we set ourselves up, but for the people that are going to be coming through the cafe over the years, like how to make sure that they're having like a successful time with us, even if it is like 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. So that's been really cool. Still working on that, but that demands like high standards. It demands like thin margin, because if you're going to bring someone on, you kind of like guarantee their work.
Yeah.
And so, but it's a just cause.
Yeah. All these years later, and we're still trying to figure out what our business model is. Huh?
We're getting a little better at it.
Yeah. You're like, catering's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, Riley, you said it best, just taking what we have to the next level. And I think opening Dunwoody and sort of struggling with what exactly is our business model for our cafes was it revealed a very important takeaway, which is that we're not going to open more cafes for now. And we're going to just work on the ones we have, get them dialed in. If an amazing opportunity comes, sure, we'll look at it. But hey, we're staying right here. And we have enough things going on, right? I mean, think about like Valor. You've got Cafe 1, Cafe 2, you've got e-commerce, you've got wholesale, you've got the podcast. We have an online community. And did I already say catering?
No.
I don't think so.
Say it.
So, those are all actually different businesses to some extent. And I know that there's different departments in a company, right? But a lot of companies just sort of have like one product or a product line, and then departments under those, to make that happen, right? But we have all these different expressions of Valor, and it's really fun to like exercise different skills and learn and grow in all those different avenues. But yeah, I mean, for my side of things, the wholesale side and the podcast have become pretty tied together, and we needed a way to facilitate all of the growth and all of the connection between people that was happening. And that's what this online community is.
Yeah.
Like over the years, throughout our entire company, we always talked about like, man, it would be so cool to have like a video series or something to like be able to send to a wholesale partner that's far away. We can't necessarily fly out there and train them in person, but what if we could have some like digital assets? And I always just pictured like a YouTube playlist or something that we send to them and like they can watch it. But this online community is like, it's checking that box and more. And so that's been a big focus for me. And as far as like where we're going and where I'm excited, like, man, I think like once we figure out like we're really in a good place with our cafes, with building those teams and what exactly their roles are. Like I think we could take on another cafe in the next, pick your time span. I still feel it's like I'm not looking for anything right now, but like the whole righteous anxiety of opening the second cafe was like, we don't want to scale something that's dysfunctional. We don't want to put more of something that's not right out into the world. And we don't want our culture to be diluted. And so once we've kind of like figured out, that jump from 1 to 2, it's going to be easier to do 2 to 3, at least in theory. Right. And so again, I'm not itching for that. Like I don't have baby fever on another cafe, but I think that could be fun, and continuing to build our wholesale program is very, very fun for me.
Nice. We were talking about when we opened this roastery, and the first cafe was like our cash cow, and then the roastery didn't have any money, and then it was like that for a long time, and then we opened Dunwoody, and we were like, wait, is the roastery our cash cow now? And then like Dunwoody doesn't make any money. And then Dunwoody started to grow, and then we started to like really reinvest a lot on the roasting side and like growing this operation and better equipment and more staffing and so on. And we're like, wait, is Dunwoody the cash cow and the roastery doesn't have any money again? It's a funny thing. And I'm just being really transparent. When I say no money, I don't actually mean that, but I'm talking about...
we're in the like, we saw a lot of growth this year. Like we've almost doubled this year.
We have doubled.
Okay. We've doubled this year.
Some people are saying we've doubled.
And when that happens, you've got to take a look at your operation and be like, okay, this momentum is happening. If we don't steward it well, it's all going to go away.
Yeah. It costs to grow.
Yeah.
New sealer, second roaster, eventually more people,
bigger space.
Then you have to keep an eye on that true cost, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just get more people in here. Let's just get more people.
We're probably, then that's the thing. It's like, it might just be for a brief moment. Maybe for like 2 weeks, we're back to $15 per pound on our true costs. But then you grow your volume, you shrink it back down, reel it in. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, one of the ways that I'm excited to see our company grow, especially our website, is through SEO.
It has grown.
And it has.
Yeah.
We're getting traffic left and right. And that is largely thanks to our friends at Local Eyes Growth. They are SEO experts. For those of you who don't know, SEO is search engine optimization. One of the ways that we were best able to book events when we first started our cart actually was just somehow, it was like we were throwing a dart at a dartboard with a blindfold on. We hit on SEO in a few ways, and that's how we got our events. If you were listening to part 2 with movie sets, the Church of Scientology, what have you. So Localize knows a lot more about that than I do, and they have been able to write us great keyword-based blogs that have driven traffic to our website and converted to sales. So if you want to partner with Localize, you can go to localesgrowth.com/valor, and you will get 50% off one-time services and 20% off monthly recurring services. Boys, we got to wrap this.
Y'all guys are awesome. I'm so happy that we did this.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's been nice to recollect.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that we did this
company
thing called Valor.
Yeah, me too. Let's keep doing it.
Crazy little thing called Valor.
Love y'all.
Bye. Love you.